To be honest, Roblox UI is boring. In like 95% of the games you play, you just use it because you have to, not because you want to. I mean, just look at this UI, it's so simple and predictable. And so, when I was sitting on my couch and pulled something up to watch my Apple TV, I thought,
this was pretty interesting.
And that's where I got the thought, what if I made this in Roblox? I mean, come on, who can resist that smooth, silky, satisfying anime? So, now it's time for the easy part. Okay, so first of all, I'll just be starting in a normal base plate, and so this will all just be completely made from scratch. And that also does remind me, I'll not be using any elements of AI or scripting from any other sources, and that really just means that I'll be having to do all the scripting myself. Though at this moment, that doesn't really matter because all I'm doing is just the basic UI elements, copying everything off the TVOS homepage. However, this rule will be way more important later on when I start adding the hard stuff, the animations and whatever, that takes a lot of scripting. So make sure to watch until the end because it gets pretty intense and it's something you're not going to want to miss. Okay, so now let's actually get started. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to need a reference. So I decided to copy a good old decal from the marketplace. And your inferior mind may be thinking,
But I thought you were supposed to do all this yourself.
and yes, I am, but that's just for scripting, you idiot. So when it comes to anything but scripting, I can use whatever resources I want, and that applies here as well. That includes images. Okay, so let's actually get started! Okay, so here, all I had to do was the easy stuff. Put the UI elements over the reference image, and boom, it was done already. Hey, I mean, I said it was gonna be easy.
So never tell me ever again!
Okay, anyways, so now it's time to finish up making these apps. So I've already started here with the top 5, but now it's time to do the rest. So all I have to do here is find the icons of each app, and then put them inside of the image button. It's really simple, but it just takes a while. Okay, so you can see here that I'm gonna do Paramount Plus first, but really all these apps I'm just gonna be choosing at random the most popular Apple TV apps that are out there. Alright, so I'm just gonna skip to when I have all these apps done, and here you go. Alright, so now I'm just finishing up the last one, and here are all of the icons. It was pretty easy to do, they're just images, but almost it. But there is just one more thing I want to add. I do want to add the background, so I'm just going to do that real quick. Now this is pretty easy. All I have to do is get an image of just some kind of blurry background, and then I'll have an image label behind it, and it should be just fine. Alright, there we go. After this, I will have to clean up a lot of these icons, and I do want to redo a little bit on how these images are structured, but I think that's good enough for day 1, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. To talk. Now let's see here. How far are we into the video? 4 minutes? Alright, but how does the UI look so far?
What the hell is that?
Okay, bro, this sucks. We need to fix this right now. Okay, let's see here. What can we do? Well, we can just run a time lapse of me fixing all of the UI by like separating the icons and adding the image as a gradient for the background and then making it seem like I did it in like 5 seconds. And there you go. Okay. I suppose that just leaves us now to figure out how are we going to do these app icon animations. So I've been thinking a lot about this because I think it's going to be the hardest animation that we're gonna have to make. So really it's just turning the app icons into these 3D objects, and it looks like when you're hovering over it you're kind of like pressing on them, and that is going to be something that's pretty hard to do considering UI is 2D. It's kind of hard to make 3D objects. And so there's two ways that we could really go with this. Either we could keep it all 2D and try to trick the mind into thinking that it's a 3D object by adding images over top of it and that kind of stuff. And so there's a second option. This involves getting a viewport frame, then putting a part inside of it, and then putting the UI on that part. Then, using that part inside of the viewport frame, we should technically be able to modify the position of that part and the size of it based off of where the mouse is over that viewport frame. So I actually believe that I'm going to go with the second option, and that's because it's not only going to be easier, it's also going to look a lot better at the end since it will actually be 3D. Though the only thing that will be really annoying about this is the fact that we are going to have to use decals. And that's because surface GUIs do not show up on viewport frames, as I did test this before and it did not work at all. So we will have to convert all of it to decals from the already done image labels. And so you may be wondering, how is it hard to transfer image labels into decals? So unfortunately, decals don't have the ability to crop, so this gives us several different problems. Now, one of these problems is that we use UI corners, which bezels our backgrounds. And because you can't do that to decals, we're going to have to manually do that to every single image that we import for the background. So that means manually going through every single background and adding a corner to it. Now that might be pretty simple for just one or two or a couple, but we're going to have to do that for every single one. And also you have to make sure that every single background and every single icon are properly sized to the same ratio as the image, or else it'll be stretched and it'll just look horrible. However, once we get past all of these tedious details of having to transfer all of them to decals, we've pretty much got the same exact thing, however it's ready for us to script. So you might have noticed, it's already animated. Well, really, that's just because I added a simple script that makes it whenever you enter the viewport frame, it then gets bigger. It's very simple script, but I think I'm going to actually redo this and make it so then when you hover over it, the part actually gets closer to the camera. And so it's basically the same script. Using the tween service, we make the part get closer to the camera, just like how we use the tween service to make the viewport frame get bigger once you enter the viewport frame. You may be wondering, why am I doing this in the first place if I already have the script for the viewport frame to get bigger? And because we're also changing the orientation of the part, it'll be a lot smoother if we also change the position of the part instead of changing the position of the viewport frame, so then they don't really collide. Now, as I said, the script was very easy, but this is nothing compared to the script that I will have to write for the orientation change. So this is where it really gets interesting, and I will warn you, this was not fun. Now, alright, let's wait a second. Before that, since you've been watching this video for so long already, could you at least consider giving this a like and maybe subscribing if you have the chance? I mean, considering I have, what, 3 subscribers? So, I mean, if you subscribe, you literally get to see the number increase. I mean, isn't that pretty cool? So, now, let's actually get into the scripting. So, first of all, what I had to do was get the positioning of the mouse, and I related that to the absolute position of the image label on the screen. And then using the relation of the mouse on the screen with the image label, I was able to change the orientation of the part. And I mean, even getting to this point where there's so many bugs, it took me such a long time. And I mean, just look at this. But after a little while, I was able to fix a majority of the glitches, and it seems like the app icon glitches a little bit when you leave it, so let me just fix that real quick. Wait, bro, what the? Okay, and that looks pretty good now. I love how it looks very smooth, but we aren't done yet. Just wait for tomorrow.
Wake up. Wake up.
Okay.
Wake up.
Alright, so today we just have the extra details to add to make it smoother and more convincing. So, first of all, Sydney, get out of my room! Okay, so there's 3 things that we want to get done. The background, the opening apps, and the app names. So let's start out with the background. So this is a very important part of the TVOS homepage. So every time you hover over one of the top icons of the homepage, the background changes to that app. It's a pretty simple thing to do, but we just have to make sure we do it right. So first of all, I started out with making the backgrounds for each app, making custom ones, and then I added a script to each one of those top icons and made it so that when you enter that icon, the background would show up. And it's just as simple as that. Whenever you hover over that icon, it shows the background for that specific app, and there we go. Now let's actually get to the hard part, making the actual apps for the app icons, so then when you click on it, it then pops up. So first of all, what I did is I got the absolute position and the absolute size of each of the icons. Then I made a frame that would change position and size every time you click that icon. The animation really looks like if you were to get the app icon and expand it into the entire screen, and that's what I'm trying to replicate here. So what I'm going to try to do is get the frame down to that size, and then once you click on it, right away it'll expand to the screen, and then it'll show just an icon or something, a placeholder for right now. Then of course I'll add a button or something so then you can go back to the home page. Now, once that's done, we have the last and most simple thing that we have to add. This would be the simple text under the app icon. So whenever you hover over an icon, this text animation pops up and it just shows what the name of the app is. And you may be thinking this is totally unnecessary because all it is just some text label that you put under there. But I mean, without this, it wouldn't feel like the real TVOS homepage that we all know and I guess love. So this was very simple to script. All I had to do was make it so then when you enter the app icon, then it would become visible, and there you go. The only hard part was trying to find the right font, because having a more Arial basic font made it not really seem like it was real, but I found this more cartoony font that looks more Apple-like, so I think that's really what we're going for. So I suppose it's time for the grand reveal. And here you go. Here's the final product. Now, it's not everything. There are a couple elements that are missing, just like all of the content inside of the apps, the quick settings panel, being able to change users, all these different things. But this was all I could do in 3 days. But if this video gets 100 likes or something close to that, I will probably make a part 2. If you want to try out this game for yourself, I'll make sure to link it in the description. If you're really interested in how it all works, make sure to join the Discord server, also linked down below in the description. And that includes all kinds of things, like all the things it took to make this video, along with all kinds of things relating to Roblox Studio. Now with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later!